Have you ever picked up a really old book, maybe a family recipe book, and found an ingredient that just makes you go, what is that? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to solve a little mystery, one that's been hiding in a forgotten word from an old flu remedy.
Okay, so check this out. Here's our first clue. An actual recipe for the flu from way back in 1834. It calls for angelica root, water, and liquid narbonne or best virgin honey. All right, so we know it's a type of honey, but what exactly is liquid narbonne? I mean, what made it so special that you had to call it out by name?
And that really makes you think, doesn't it? When a word like liquid narbonne just disappears from how we talk, what else are we losing along with it? Can you really wipe out a piece of history just for forgetting a word? That's the big question we're digging into. To really get what's going on in this recipe, we've got to travel back in time. So let's do that. Picture it. The year is 1834. I mean, just look at this. This picture gives you a real feel for a totally different reality. The fireplace wasn't just for cozy nights, it was the engine of the home. In a world without our kind of medicine, being able to rely on yourself wasn't just a nice idea, it was absolutely everything. Just try to imagine it. No pharmacy down the street, no 24-hour store, no ER you can just drive to. When someone got sick, your family's collection of remedies, this kind of household heritage, was your absolute first line of defense. The knowledge in those notebooks wasn't just interesting, it was literally a matter of survival.
Okay, so now that we've got a feel for the time, let's get back to our mystery. It's time to pull back the curtain and figure out what on earth made liquid narbonne famous enough to be in this recipe.
So what was it? What was so special about this honey that it was a household name back in 1834, even though most of us have never even heard of it today?
And here it is. Liquid narbonne was rosemary honey, specifically from the city of Narbonne in France. You see, this wasn't just some generic honey. It was a world-famous product, also known as miel de romarin. The name might be lost to most of us, but the product itself, rosemary honey, is definitely still around.
And we're not talking about just any honey. This stuff had an absolutely incredible history. The Romans thought it was the best honey in the entire world. By the 12th century, it was being shipped as far away as Egypt. Its fame lasted all the way into the 1800s, and it only really started to fade when vineyards began taking over the rosemary fields. So that's one mystery down. It really shows how much history can be hiding in just one or two words. Now, let's put on our detective hats again and tackle another common remedy from back then, a homemade cough syrup. All right, next up is a recipe for cough syrup. The main ingredient is linseed, which we know today as flaxseed. But just like with our last recipe, there's a little word in here that's a real head-scratcher for us today. The instructions seem pretty straightforward, right? You boil the linseed, add your sweeteners like sugar and licorice, throw in some lemon juice, simmer it down, and finish it off with a little rum. But then you hit step 2. Boil until half is wasted. Wasted? What on earth does that mean? You don't want to throw half of it out, do you? And here's the big reveal. For us, wasted means thrown in the trash, but back then, it just meant to reduce something by boiling it. The water wasted away as steam, which made the syrup thicker and more concentrated. It's a perfect example of how one little word, changing its meaning over time, could make this entire recipe impossible to follow. So now that we've kind of cracked the code on these old recipes, let's zoom out a bit. How do these simple, made-in-the-kitchen remedies change over the years? The difference is pretty staggering. On the left, you've got the 1834 syrup. It's made from things you'd find in a well-stocked pantry. On the right, a remedy from around 1900. And wow, we've gone from kitchen staples to complex chemical compounds, including things like heroin, which, believe it or not, was used as a medicine before we fully understood how dangerous it was. It just shows this huge shift from the kitchen to the laboratory. So, as we start to wrap this journey up, what's the big takeaway from digging up all these lost words? Let's go back to this image one more time. You know, looking at it now, it feels different, doesn't it? That home isn't just a house, it's a library. And inside that library, every recipe, every forgotten word, well, that's like a lost book, holding generations and generations of wisdom. When you boil it all down, what we're really seeing is that words are so much more than just, well, words. They're like little time capsules. By decoding terms like liquid narbonne and wasted, we aren't just figuring out an old recipe. We're actually unlocking the practical knowledge of the people who came before us. And that leaves us with one last big question.
If something as huge as a world-famous honey and a simple cooking term can get lost in just a couple of hundred years, what other knowledge is just sitting out there, hidden in plain sight, in the words of our past? And maybe more importantly, what have we forgotten that's truly worth remembering?